What's up, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter? It's Trey Larkins, Wise Guys Sports. These guys know sports on this Tuesday, February the 24th. In the house with your boy Trey Larkins on the Wise Guys Sports Show. Everybody remember go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at Wise Guys _H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. I want to come on here and talk some NBA today on this Tuesday, February the 24th, and discuss a few things. I want to talk about the New York Knicks, Houston Rockets, the Celtics for a bit, and explain why I believe that Luka Doncic is overrated. Something I've been preaching for years and something I wanted to talk about. And so we are into the second half of the NBA season. So the NBA All-Star game has came and gone. And so we are in the second half of the NBA season. And the NBA playoffs are around the corner. And will be here in about a month and a half. And so we got multiple contenders in each conference. In the East, we got the Detroit Pistons, the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, and so on. In the West, you got the San Antonio Spurs, the defending Super Bowl champion, Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets. So we got multiple contenders in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. But specifically, I watched the Rockets Knicks game Saturday night, and the Knicks beat the Rockets 108-106 in the Saturday night primetime game on ABC/ESPN. And the Rockets, they had a 4-point lead over the Knicks with a little bit over 2 minutes left to go in that game. The Rockets were leading the Knicks 103-99, and all hell broke loose for the Houston Rockets. And so the Knicks ended up beating the Rockets 108-106, and the Knicks ended the game on a 9-3 run. So the Knicks were trailing the Rockets with about 2 minutes left to go in that game, and they ended the game on a 9-3 run and beat the Rockets 108-106. And I had two takeaways, one from each team after watching that game. Let's start off with the Houston Rockets. To me, the Houston Rockets lost that game more than the Knicks won that basketball game. And let me explain why. And this is why I also don't believe the Houston Rockets are legitimate championship contenders. I believe the Rockets are a team that can win one playoff series, but I think the ceiling for the Houston Rockets is the second round. I do not believe the Houston Rockets are a true championship contender like I feel about the OKC Thunder or the Denver Nuggets or even the San Antonio Spurs in a way. But to me, I watched the ending of that Rockets Knicks game, and the exact reason why I feel like the Rockets are not championship contenders showed up in the final 2.5 minutes of that Rockets Knicks game when the Rockets had a total collapse. They had a total collapse against the Knicks in that Saturday night loss. And the reason why the Rockets are not championship contenders is because they don't have a true point guard. That's the reason why the Rockets cannot be viewed as championship contenders in the Western Conference. They don't have a true point guard, and they don't have an initiator, a quarterback per se, that can run the offense. Instead, they allow Kevin Durant and Alfred Şengün to lead their offense and be playmakers, when in reality, Kevin Durant and Şengün are shot makers. And that's the biggest reason why I don't view the Houston Rockets as championship contenders in the Western Conference. They don't have a true point guard. And the moment that when they lost Fred VanVleet for the season, to me, the Houston Rockets championship aspirations went right out the window. They went right out the window because you need a true point guard that can get guys in the right places and settle things down from an offensive standpoint and be an extension of your head coach once we get into April, May, and June in NBA postseason basketball. And the Houston Rockets simply do not have that. And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Rockets can't be viewed as championship contenders in the Western Conference. Them losing Fred VanVleet really hurt the Rockets' championship aspirations. But I believe Kevin Durant and Şengün can win you one playoff series. But you can't just rely on Kevin Durant and Şengün to go 1-on-5 and think that you're going to be able to beat those good teams in the Western Conference in a best-of-7 series. That's just not going to happen. And so I think the Rockets, they should have made a move at the trading deadline and tried to trade for a true point guard. So that's why I feel like they're not championship contenders in the Western Conference. And I think that was the biggest reason also why they lost that 4-point lead against the Knicks in that Saturday night game, because they don't have a true point guard. They don't have anybody that can settle the offense down. Kevin Durant is a great player. He is arguably the greatest scorer in NBA history, but Kevin Durant is a shot maker, not necessarily a playmaker. Now, Kevin Durant can pass the basketball effectively, but Kevin Durant is a scorer, not a point guard, not a playmaker. He's not the kind of player that is going to set up other players to be successful. That would be LeBron James. But Kevin Durant can pass the basketball, but his strength is a scorer. That's what Kevin Durant is. Şengün, he's a scorer as well. Now, Şengün can pass the basketball as a big man, but his strengths are scoring and rebounding, and he can't pass the basketball as well. Let me be clear, but they need a true point guard to run their offense. And I thought the Rockets organization, they made a mistake by not making a move at the trading deadline for a point guard. So that was my takeaway when it comes to the Houston Rockets. My other takeaway after watching that Rockets-Knicks game was I love the interaction between Karl-Anthony Towns and Shaq in the post-game interview when Karl-Anthony Towns interviewed with Inside the NBA with Shaq, Kenny, Charles, and Ernie. Shaq basically called out Cat because Cat, basically talked about the Knicks and where they are right now as a basketball team and what he expects moving forward. And Cat basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, this is what I expect of us as a basketball team. And Shaq had to check Cat and basically let Cat know, like, hey, bro, in order for the Knicks to reach their full potential and maximize their championship aspirations, they need you to play at an elite level. And I agree with Shaq 100%. And there's no other player in NBA history that's more qualified than Shaq to let Cat know what's required of him in order for the Knicks to reach their ultimate goals and make an NBA Finals. Shaq was a part of the best duo in NBA history alongside the late, great Kobe Bryant. So Shaq knows what it takes as a big man and as one of the best big men in NBA history, the most dominant big man in NBA history. He knows what it takes to be a part of a 1-2 punch and a dynamic duo, and how you have to be aggressive and be assertive. And that's the problem with Karl-Anthony Towns. We know Karl-Anthony Towns is talented. He's a finesse player. He can hit perimeter shots. And when he goes down in the low post, he can also get buckets. But the problem with Karl-Anthony Towns is two things. He's inconsistent and he's not as assertive as Knicks fans want him to be. And in order for the Knicks to go on a deep playoff run in April and May, they need Karl-Anthony Towns to embrace being one of the two best players on this Knicks team for them to reach their ultimate goals. It's going to have to be on Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. It's not about Anunoby. It's not about Josh Hart. It's not about Mike Brown, the head coach. It's about Karl-Anthony Towns embracing the fact that he is the second best player on this Knicks roster and why he needs to elevate his game and be more assertive / aggressive for the Knicks to be able to reach their ultimate potential and reach their goals in making NBA finals. So I love Shaq basically calling out Cat. All that, we a team this, we a team that. No, you need to embrace being the second best player on this basketball team and understand that the New York Knicks playoff hopes / championship aspirations ride on Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns elevating their games, because that's what it's going to take for the Knicks. I said it last year. To me, the Knicks are not a talented basketball team. I think they have nice pieces. Miles Bridges is a nice piece. Anunoby is a nice piece. Josh Hart is a nice piece. They don't have a deep bench. So, in order for the Knicks to maximize their potential this season as a team, they're going to need Karl-Anthony Towns to embrace being that second player on this Knicks team to reach their ultimate goals. But those are my thoughts on Karl-Anthony Towns. And when I look at the Knicks overall, I don't think the Knicks are better than the Detroit Pistons. I don't. I think the Detroit Pistons, they have smoked the Knicks in 3 of their matchups this year. In the one matchup, when they played in Detroit, the Pistons ran the Knicks out of the state of Michigan. They ran the Knicks out of the state of Michigan. And so the Pistons are a bad matchup for Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, and the New York Knicks. So if you are the New York Knicks, you don't want no part of the Detroit Pistons. They defend at a high level, and Cade Cunningham has emerged as a superstar in this league. So I'm looking at the Knicks. The Knicks and the Celtics will be a toss-up in a 7-game series. Like, I know the Knicks beat the Celtics last year, but that was last year. Right now, Jaylen Brown is playing at an MVP level. Peyton Pritchard has been balling for the Boston Celtics. Derek White is one of the best defensive guards we have in the NBA, and he's a great perimeter shooter. And the Celtics also traded for Vucevic at the trading deadline. And Vucevic is going to fill that role that Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford previously played within the Joe Mazzulla system for the Boston Celtics. That's the thing. When you play for the Boston Celtics as a center, you got to be able to shoot. We saw Kristaps Porzingis hit perimeter shots for the Boston Celtics. We saw Al Horford hit perimeter shots for the Boston Celtics. And Vucevic also can hit perimeter shots. And so he's going to be a great fit in that Joe Mazzulla system. And they play Mazzulla ball where they shoot a lot of threes with Peyton Pritchard, with Jaylen Brown, with Derek White, now with Vucevic. Once JT returns back to the floor, they shoot a lot of threes. And so I like where the Celtics are. I really, really like where the Celtics are right now. I think Jaylen Brown deserves to be top 2 as far as NBA MVP honors. I think it's Cade Cunningham and Jaylen Brown right now as far as my list when it comes to the NBA MVP. And I think the Celtics are rolling. They are rolling, and they are playing some great basketball. Peyton Pritchard has been balling. I mean, fresh off of a 30-point performance against the Lakers Sunday in Staples. Well, it's crypto.com now, but I still call it Staples Center. But Pritchard has been balling for the Boston Celtics, and they playing at an elite level. So it's crazy because I thought coming into the season Because the Celtics lost Jason Tatum to a torn Achilles, because the Indiana Pacers lost Tyrese Halliburton to a torn Achilles, I thought this was going to be the Knicks' year to reach the NBA Finals. But now here comes the Detroit Pistons. And so I don't know if the Knicks are going to make the NBA Finals. I think right now, if the Knicks were to match up against the Celtics in a 7-game series, that would be a toss-up. If the Knicks matched up against the Cavaliers, that would be a toss-up. I think the Knicks and Cavaliers play against each other tonight. I'm not sure if that game is in New York or Cleveland. I think it's in Cleveland. But Cleveland, they just traded for James Harden. But I don't really believe in the Cavs either, because James Harden is a choke artist in the postseason. I believe in Donovan Mitchell. And I do believe that Donovan Mitchell needs to at least get the Cleveland Cavaliers to a conference finals. But we've seen Donovan Mitchell have some big time performances in the playoffs, but he has not been able to get none of his teams so far in his career to a conference finals. So it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be real interesting. I think that right now the four best teams in the East right now are the Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs. And I got a sleeper for y'all. Don't sleep on the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, obviously, for the 76ers, it's going to be about health. If Joel Embiid and Paul George are healthy come playoff time, the Sixers should be viewed as sleepers in the Eastern Conference. Let me say it again. If Joel Embiid and Paul George are both healthy, the Philadelphia 76ers should be viewed as sleepers in the Eastern Conference. And I'm going to tell y'all something right now. If Embiid and Paul George are healthy, because we know Tyrese Maxey will be healthy and available, but if Embiid and Paul George are both healthy and available, the Sixers can knock off the Knicks or the Cavs or even the Celtics in a 7-game series, especially if the Celtics don't have JT. If the Celtics do not have Jason Tatum, the Sixers could beat the Celtics in a 7-game series come playoff time. I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope my Celtics can go on a deep playoff run and Tatum can return back to the court and help Jaylen Brown lead them to another NBA championship. But that trio of Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George, if they are healthy, they can beat those top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. Maybe not the Pistons, because the Pistons match up well with the Sixers, because the Pistons have big men who can match up with Joel Embiid. And they're not better than Joel Embiid, but they can defend in Durant and Isaiah Stewart. But the only thing, the problem with the Pistons is, even though right now they are the number 1 seed in the East, they don't have a true number 2 option on their basketball team. Like, who is the consistent second option from a scoring standpoint on the Detroit Pistons? I think that was a problem last night when they got beat by the San Antonio Spurs. Cade Cunningham is their only reliable scoring option. They don't have a consistent second scoring option on their basketball team. I think that's the biggest question for the Detroit Pistons. All these teams in the Eastern Conference has questions. And right now, the question for the Detroit Pistons is, who is going to elevate their game and become that second consistent scoring option for the Pistons to go on a deep playoff run? For the Celtics, in order for the Celtics to get back to the NBA Finals, they're going to need Jason Tatum to return back to the floor. I do not believe the Celtics can reach the NBA Finals without the services of Jason Tatum. I think the Celtics, without Jason Tatum, can possibly reach the conference finals, but that's a big if. That's a big if. With the Cavaliers, James Harden is a playoff choke artist. Now, I do believe James Harden helps Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, the Cavaliers' front court players, because we know when you got James Harden on your basketball team, your forwards and centers, they get more opportunities to make plays at the rim because James Harden is a great passer. James Harden is a great passer, and he's one of the best players in the NBA as far as distributing the basketball. I think James Harden, honestly, has become a better playmaker than even a scorer in the second part of his career. In the second part of his career, to me, he's become a better playmaker than even score. He can still score the basketball at an elite level, but he's a tremendous, tremendous playmaker. And so we know the Cavaliers will be better in the regular season with James Harden, but we just know that come playoff time, you can't expect anything out of James Harden because he's shown us time and time and time again that he is a playoff choke artist. So that's the issue with the Cavaliers. And the Knicks, we don't know if Cat is going to embrace being that second option and be assertive and embrace being the second best player on the New York Knicks. That's what the Knicks are going to need if they are going to go on a deep playoff run in the Eastern Conference. They're going to need Karl-Anthony Towns to be assertive, be aggressive, and be the second best player on that New York Knicks basketball team. Because the Knicks are not a talented basketball team in my eyes. They don't have a deep bench. So all those teams in the East got questions for me. In the West, I think there are two legitimate championship contenders, and that's the OKC Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. And I think the Spurs are sleepers, but the Spurs are inexperienced and they are young. I think right now, OKC, they should be the favorites, especially once SGA and Jalen Williams return back to the court. But I'm not going to sleep on the Denver Nuggets. If Jokic is healthy, Jokic is still the best player in pro basketball. If Jokic is healthy, he is still the undisputed best player in the NBA. And so you never can count out the Denver Nuggets. And the Denver Nuggets have championship DNA. They have championship experience over there in Denver with Jokic, with Murray, with Aaron Gordon. So if the Denver Nuggets can stay healthy and get to the playoffs, because they need Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon is their X factor. Aaron Gordon is the X factor for the Denver Nuggets. If Aaron Gordon is healthy, the Denver Nuggets should be viewed as championship contenders in the Western Conference. But if Aaron Gordon is not healthy, the Nuggets could be in trouble once we get to the postseason. If they don't have Aaron Gordon, the Nuggets' ceiling is the second round. They won't get past the second round without the services of Aaron Gordon. But if they have Aaron Gordon, the Denver Nuggets could make the NBA Finals and represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. Spurs are sleepers in the Western Conference to me. Wemby is young. Castle is young. De'Aaron Fox is also still young in my eyes. So they are very inexperienced, but they are talented. The San Antonio Spurs are very, very talented. And Wemby is a up-and-coming superstar. I don't think he's a superstar yet, but he's an up-and-coming superstar. And don't sleep on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do not sleep on Ant-Man and the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I want to talk about Luka Doncic real quick before I get out of here. So I watched the Celtics-Lakers game the other night. Celtics beat the Lakers 111-89, and the Celtics pretty much dominated that game start to finish. And I watched that game, and one of my takeaways from that game is something that I've been screaming for years about Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is overrated as a basketball player. Luka Doncic is a good player. He is a great scorer. He's a great playmaker as well. But Luka Doncic is a defensive liability, and he's a one-dimensional basketball player. He does not defend. And offensively, when the ball is not in his hands, he doesn't move without the basketball. And I made a post yesterday, and of course, there are people that disagree with me. The post basically talked about how Luka was overrated and how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both better than Luka. And the reason why Brown and Tatum are better than Luka, there are multiple reasons. Number one, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both play defense, something Luka does not do. And not only does Luka not play defense, he's a defensive liability. That's the worst part about Luka. It's okay to not play defense when you're averaging 28 points per game, but you at least need to attempt to play defense and not be a defensive liability. And Luka Doncic is a defensive liability. And not only that, he doesn't move without the basketball. And that's actually one of the reasons why I don't view the Lakers as real contenders in the Western Conference. It's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And they do it with Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. So there's no type of ball movement. There's no unity within the Lakers offense. It's your turn, my turn. Your turn, my turn, with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. And you're not going to win a championship with that style of basketball. It's just not going to happen. These NBA teams are too good in the playoffs to allow the Lakers to play that your turn, my turn type of basketball. It's not going to work. But I feel like Luka Doncic is a great scorer. He's a great offensive player with the basketball in his hands. But I see him time and time again complaining to officials. Luka complains more to officials than he actually attempts to play defense. Think about that. He complains more to officials than he actually attempts to play defense. There have been multiple times throughout Luka's career where I've watched Luka be upset or pissed off because he did not get a foul call that he wanted, and the other team is running back the opposite direction, and it's a bucket because Luka did not get back on defense, and instead he's complaining at the officials. This is why I don't believe Luka is a superstar, nor do I believe that the Lakers are going to win a championship with Luka Doncic as their number one option. Everybody went crazy when the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers. And I said then, and I'm going to say it now, the Lakers won that trade, but it wasn't as lopsided as everyone made it to be. Because I understood what the Mavericks were trying to do. It just didn't work out. They were trying to team up Anthony Davis with Kyrie Irving because they believe that defense wins championships. And I believe that. But you also got to be able to score points. Nevertheless, the Kyrie AD experiment did not work in Dallas because Kyrie and AD both got injured. But I don't believe the Lakers necessarily got better trading AD for Luka. Because as great as Luka is Offensively, AD is a great defender and one of the best defensive players in pro basketball when he's healthy. And he brings a different element than Luka brings. Luka is a stat sheet stuffer. Luka will get you on any given night 35, 10, and 8. 35 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Yes, Luka Doncic is good for that stat line. But do I believe that Luka Doncic should be considered a winning player? No, I do not. I don't think you can win a championship with Luka Doncic as your number one option. I don't. Years ago, in the 2024 NBA Finals, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both proved that they are better overall players than Luka Doncic. Luka is overrated. And I guarantee you, in 5 years, Laker fans will regret trading for Luka Doncic because Luka will not win a championship as the Lakers' number one option. And I do not believe that the Lakers are going to win a championship in the Luka Doncic era in Los Angeles. He's overrated. He's a defensive liability, and he's a one-dimensional basketball player. And in order to win NBA championships, you have to play defense and also be effective without the basketball in your hands. And neither of those two things that I just named is Luka Doncic. So I think he's overrated, and I think the Lakers will regret trading for Luka Doncic. And Laker fans are going to be pissed off in 5 years when they are still searching desperately for a championship in the Luka Doncic era in Los Angeles, and it will not happen. So let me be very clear. Luka will never win a championship in Los Angeles. I'm telling y'all right now, it's not going to happen. But those are my thoughts on the NBA right now. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. I'll be back on talking some more NBA basketball later on in the week. Y'all enjoy y'all Tuesday night. Peace.